Hey everyone, welcome to another stream. Hope I'm audible, people can hear me. Welcome, welcome. Wait for a minute or so. Let some folks join in. Then I'll get started. This stream is going to be continuation of where I left yesterday, right? So we discussed these two things, OOPs principles and UML. The next thing is solid principles, right? For all the new viewers, I have just put a comment like in a chat. I have put the Vento. So that has my links to coding profiles and different things, right? Feel free to check it out. Feel free to ask any questions if you guys have, whoever is new to the stream, right? We'll get started in 2 minutes. Hope I'm audible. uh, if you find it helpful, feel free to comment, like, share, subscribe, the normal stuff. Just one more minute and then we'll get started. 5 minutes already into the stream. The session is going to be of 35 minutes. I'm thinking of doing 2 sessions of 35 minutes. Hey Shubham, hope you're doing well. Looks like you are first time coming to my stream. Please feel free to let me know if I can help in any way. Yep. So if anyone is new, I'll just give a brief, right? So this is a little bit about myself, right? so that it kind of established the credibility of the channel. And my channel generally talks about DSA and design. From past couple of days or couple of weeks, I've been focusing on DSA, where we were solving a neat codes list. All the lists are good. Um, I have never followed any of the list because those lists came later. Um, then I have good rating on LeetCode because I have been doing LeetCode from a long time. Decent rating, not that high level of a competitive programmer also, and not that a beginner also, somewhere in between, right? So then recently I made a switch where I was fortunate enough to give interviews at a lot of companies. Uh, and then I got some decent offers as well. Grateful for that. So I generally answer some questions around that if anyone has any questions, or just to interact with people of same field, right? And so now from yesterday I have moved to low level. So this is something that I created when I was preparing last year. Yesterday I shared the Xgali link of this. So that should be in chat of yesterday's live. So we discussed OOPs and UML. So this is not a teaching session. If anyone is coming with that mindset that I'm going to teach, it's not like that. I'll probably do coding and stuff like that and talk my way through it, right? So for teaching and for knowledge purpose, I do create dedicated videos. This live stream is just for like you can say motivation purpose, or code with us, right? Code with me kind of a thing. It kind of motivates me as well, and I just want to motivate others as well to achieve that consistency of doing things every day, right? Same things, when you do same things every day, that matters. If you have heard a quote from Michael Jordan, he always used to say that he used to throw 100 shots every day, right? So you're doing same boring thing every day. That's what matters, I think. So that's that. With that, I think we are 7 minutes into the stream, so I'll not waste much of the time, and uh, then I'll move to the solid principles. Thank you so much, Shivam. When I started this, I thought that I might not be. It doesn't make sense, but I think I have got a good feedback from couple of. Even if I am able to help one person in every live stream, that kind of makes my day, right? And knowledge is free. That is my aim, right? Nowadays, everyone has Wi-Fi. So yes. So cool. So what I generally do is I'll start this Pomodoro, and then for 35 minutes I'll be coding. I suggest whoever is watching, please feel free to code along with me, learn things along with me. If you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat, and I'll take a look at it once this Pomo ends, right? That said that, let's get started. Cool. So just like yesterday, we were going through this thing, right? This OOPs principle and UML, right? OOPs is very basic things. It's like some principle that are designed across coding standards. It helps to achieve maintainable, scalable code, right? So one example is that you create interface and then you can create different credit card methods for payment, right? So that kind of extends our code. If we just had a class and putting everything in that method, so that would kind of make our code more error prone, right? So all of these things revolves around that, like best practices, best coding standards, production level code, right? All of these things matter there. And then we had this UML relationships where we talked about if something has a complete dependency, for example, room, right? It doesn't make sense to just have a room. So even if you have a standalone room, that is kind of called a house, right? So whenever there is a room, a house can have just one room, right? So still it does house independently doesn't make sense. So that's why it has a strong hazard relationship. And engineer can live student, like once you do a BTech, right? Sometimes you don't get placed. So but still you are an engineer, right? So without a company, engineer also makes sense. But once you are in a company, then it has a list of engineers, right, that are working for that. So this is kind of a weak. So these are the two important ones: aggregation and composition. That is something that we discussed yesterday, right? Now moving to solid principles. So there are five solid principles. So this is why I'm doing it for myself and for everyone, right? So um, solid. Each is like a short, this is like a short form of the principal names. So you have solid, SOLID, right? S is single responsibility, U is open for extension but closed for modification. L is Liskov, I is I think inversion something. What's the name? Interface segregation, where like you don't put everything in one interface, right? So that like if let's say I could just created one interface for video platform and then audio, everything is going with then. So then the client should have to implement all the functions that implement has, right? Even if they don't use it. That's the rough idea. And then dependency, this is a good one that if you create some abstractions, your low level should also follow what high level says, right? So for example, if there is a bird and or a bird and then it has a fly function and then you added penguin that, right? Penguin can't fly, so that penguin is obstructing the high level property of bird, right? So those sort of things come. So I have some muscle memory around this, but let's go one by one, right? Why do we need it? So let's improve this also. Why, right? Why is basically there are things, right? So we write a lot of code, right? Code should be clean, maintainable, such that if new member comes in, they are also able to understand it. Extensible, like more features, new things can become. And these are the three things. And like you can say like easy to fix errors or less error prone, right? That also kind of comes within maintainable, right? Or we can probably say testable, right? So easy to test also. So these are important for production level systems. Important for production level systems. When you're doing some like POCs and all, then it is okay. You can do whatever you want. But when you're going doing for big systems like in production where you have number of users, right? Then it matters. So first, single responsibility, right? Single responsibility says that so any system can be built within one class, right? I can just have a one class and then give all the responsibility to it. But then let's say now there is only one class and it has 10 features and 10 engineers are working on that same class, right? So then it depends, makes the code very hard to learn, right? And hard to manage also. So we'll take an example of it. Uh, Best example. So this again, I'll be referring my notes, right? So and also it says that what other thing, right? Class. So let's read this also. Whatever class should have only one reason to change. That means it should have only one responsibility. So let's say I have a class which is responsible for sending the email. So it will only be changed when I am sending an email, right? So it should not be changed when for some other purpose, right? Now, what is the violation? One class which does auth, register, notification, logging. Everything is done by one class. So in this, we have this journal, we have these systems. Let's create a new package itself, solid principles, Java class srp dot Java, right? Now, okay, so what we are saying here is that let me bring something from my notes. These are my notes from. So single responsibility a class should have only one reason to change, meaning it should have only one responsibility. Each class should focus on making it easier to maintain and less modification. And also, uh, there might sometimes if you put everything in one class, right? Two things are there. One is that you might have to change its logic. That is okay, right? But the other thing is that if it's let's say it has two functions and you have to change the second function, then also you'll have to test the first functionality, right? So then the interdependency is a lot with that, right? So now let's implement it in both without SRP. right? So let's create a user service, public void. Now this is like a user service, right? In every application, let's say uh, I have a Facebook application, right? In that also I'll have a user, whether I'm Amazon also has a user, Zepto, everything has a user, right? So logic to register user. And then now when you are sending an email to this user, right? Then you are using this, or let's say when this user is sending an email, logic to send email, right? And then you can say you are logging the activity of the user, right? And string activity. So then logic to log everything is basically within it, right? There can be authentication also, like user authentication. That logic also is there, probably somewhere in this, right? Now, if some other functionality comes in, that also will be added here, right? So this side of things should be avoided. Now, with the SRP, it makes sense to have different classes, right? So class user registration service, public void register user. I can just copy this because we are understanding the gist of it, right? And in the same way, I can have class email service, send email, right? Now this email service could be an interface also, and then you can have different interfaces around that. But we can see that this email is definitely a different thing, right? So that is how this SRP works, kind of uh, removing the interdependency, basically tightly coupled code to loosely coupled code. Let's say aim we can measure achieve loosely coupled code. This might we have read in college, right? That loosely coupled code is always good. Hello. Cool. I was just taking a look at the chat if there is any question. No questions as such. So that is single responsibility principle, right? Very straightforward. I have like kind of like gone through it many a times. When I read this first time, it was little bit hard to digest, but yeah, these things are kind of important. Like one other random thing that I would like to share is that now is AI as well. Generative AI is kind of on the boom, right? So we should heavily leverage that also. These things are important. These are like core of everything when you're writing the code, but leverage that to learn this, right? So that will speeden up the process. So when I was preparing last year, I was heavily using AI to do most of the things, right? So now let's go to open close, right? OCP, open close principle. Open for modifications. You can modify the code. Sorry, open for extension. So like you can extend the functionality, but don't modify without impacting the existing functionality, right? Existing behavior of the class to avoid unknown bugs. That's the main thing. Otherwise, you'll have to test everything. It's like you're testing every feature after rolling out a new feature, right? Which doesn't make sense. And one more thing that I would like to share is this system design. Uh, I think most of, if anyone is watching, right? So just another FYL. Earlier, I was doing quiet coding because I didn't have much audience. Now also I generally have 4 to 5 people, but those matters, right? If anyone is watching and hearing, right, feel free to share their part of it because what I'm going to say is right. So DSA is always hit or a miss, right? So for example, if I asked you a question that is based on monotonic stack, right? Not I, if let's say interviewer asked it, right? Let me, this is okay. I think it is readable. If this is not readable, please let me know. I'll increase the font. So DSAs are hit or miss. So if let's say I asked you a question around monotonic stack, right? Or DP, and this concept you have not seen, monotonic stack, or let's take an example of binary search on answer. BO binary search. Why no? That's why. So it's like BO VSOA binary search on answer, right? Now, if someone has not heard of this, right, it is very hard to recognize this pattern in the interview, right? It's a hit or a miss scenario. Now, so that's the thing in DSA, right? So in DSA, opinions are very less, right? So like if I asked you a question on binary search, there might be some other pattern around it, but still, if I gave this solution, there is not much to argue there, right? Or not much to have a friendly discussion. But when we are doing designs, or whether it is LLD, whether it is HLD, right? There are a lot of good things that comes out of discussion, right? Whether you should put a Kafka there, or whether you should make it keep it coupled, or whether you should use events like Kafka, or whether you should which database you should use, things like that, right? Some most what I have learned from various books and from various videos, some interview channels like Hello Interview is pretty good. These guys have worked at Meta, so they might have seen good scale. So what these guys always tell is that most of the times all the databases are good, right? If you need asset property, then you go with RDBMS SQL. But if let's say you are not you don't have any restriction on asset, right? SQL also scales, and then NoSQL also scales, right? This is theoretical knowledge that I'm sharing. MongoDB I've seen personally scaling. SQL I don't have worked so much with that, but yes, that's where like healthy discussion comes into picture, right? So that's the aim. Like if anyone has any insights into that, please feel free to share. So that's just I wanted to say. Like design is not a hit or a miss, just like it's just trade-offs, right? So if I have to conclude, DSA is hit or miss, and design is all about trade-offs. Trade-offs, or you can say, uh, what is the term for that? It's, or you can say thoughtful decisions, not just random decisions. You thought through it and then you have taken that decision, right? There's a term for it. So that's the conclusion there. Cool. Coming to OCP, right? What is OCP? So again, I'll bring this from my notes. Uh, OCP definition: classes should be open for extension but closed for modification, right? So let's say this is like a example of why you should use interfaces, right? Simple plain example why interfaces are needed. Now one way could be, let's say I have a notification service, and in that class itself, uh, without, or let's say violation of OCP. The spellings are wrong, but is it? Yeah. So let's say I have a notification service, and now notification service can be a different type, right? You can send email. That's your first notification service, generally used by when you place an order, Amazon, or and then you have void send SMS when you get OTPs, right? Ping message, send OTP. Now, if let's say there is a new method, send make call, right? Send call, or you can say now in that I'll be writing in this class, right? Now, although there there might be a chance that you have written a good code and it is not impacting these functions, but somehow you are still impacting this class. You are modifying this class, right? So adding new method here is modifying the class which is bad, right? Because if you added something here, then you should test these two functionalities also, right? Now following OCP. So straight away, right? If you, let's say there are no interfaces, then we are stuck, right? Or no interface in instruction. But this is like straightforward example of interfaces that I'll create a notification service. I'll have to change the name because that name is already there. You can just create a notification and then say that public void send, right? Now, class email notification implements notification, uh, public void, this will override it, and via email, right? So here we can see that we have just extended the functionality of this notification, right? Down the line here, let me create one more, right? SMS notification. Again, I'll just say that this might be very easy for some of the folks out there who already know. So please feel free to uh, code some write some DSA or something. But yeah, and via SMS, right? Now public static void main. I know some short forms would be there, but it improves my typing speed, so I generally avoid that. So now when I have this notification service, right? Notification service. So if I say that it is a email notification, this has to be notification, and then this will send the notification via email, right? In the same way, I can use the other one, right? Like you can implement factory pattern also, basically choose which one you want to use. But the main idea is that. So you can either have this like email service and notification, SMS service, and then email service, SMS service dot ABC. So that's how UCP is there. So open for extension but closed for modification. The way to learn it is, right, always think why do you need interfaces, right? If you don't have interfaces, you're putting everything in one class. So that's the main thing to be known about this. That's the main thing to kind of keep it fresh in your mind, right? Cool. Okay, coming to the next one, right? Liskov. Okay, so I think I confused dependency with the, yeah. While explaining earlier, right? I was saying Liskov. So this is the bird example that I gave in the starting. That if there is a bird and then can fly is there and you're implementing penguin and saying that, okay, bird can fly is not implemented in penguin, then you're obstructing it, right? Uh, so that should not be the case. Liskov, what is the full form of it? Liskov substitution. Yeah. So the objects of parent class should be replaceable by objects of the child class, right? So similar thing, I think that is also Liskov. So if we have to kind of think in this one, right? So this is our notification. Now here we are saying implements, but this is not inheritance, like this is not extension. But let's say you have interface inheritance here, and then you are saying that this send and then throwing running out here, right? Then that will going to create a problem for us. So let's implement it. Liskov. Yeah, the same C. So what Liskov says that subclasses should be substitution for base classes, right? So you have a subclass penguin, it should be able to replace its bird class. Objects of drive should be able to replace the object of base without affecting the correctness. Makes sense. Hmm. So let's implement it. Class bird void can, or let's void can fly also public void fly, and then we'll say that system dot out dot println. Now, again, if anyone is watching for the stream, right, I just want to add some value also. So you should practice coding like this because in one of the Flipkart's interview, I had to code for 3 hours from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. That was like machine coding round. Now, as I did that, I wrote 400 lines of code in that. I have a dedicated video also on that interview. So 400 lines of code, right? And with screen sharing. So interviewer was also there. Um, so so practice is important, and my language Java is not my first language when I work in my company experience, right? So, but low level design and all of this is really good when it comes to Java, right? So that's why I use Java. So let's say there is sparrow or some other bird, right? What is crow? So crow can fly, right? So public void fly crow is flying, and then class ostrich or penguin. Let's take an example of penguin. Oh, penguin is a bird. I think it's a bird. Fly. And here I throw an exception. Uh, throw new unsupported operation exception and fly. So now here public stated void main. So if I have a bird, right? Penguin. Now I know this bird for other bird. If this bird is of type bird, bird 0, bird 1, new row. Now for bird 0 fly will work, but for bird 1, right, it will throw an exception because you can't just use this, right? So that's like violating it straight away. Your code will also break. So if wherever like bird is expected, this bird, then if you use crow there, then it should work fine. It broke, right? So that is Liskov. So just I'll revise without going to that screen. So we learned about three principles. First one was solid, so that each class changes only for one reason. Then we open for extension, closed for modification. Don't put everything in just one class. Use interfaces and leverage that to extend it, right? And then Liskov is that your subclasses should be able to replace, right? So three principles that we learned. And also we saw the implementation of it. In some of the companies like Walmart, you might get this straightforward question of these things. So just an FYI. 7 more minutes. I think we can cover one more. Interface agree. This is a good one. Um, Now, in open for extension, closed for modification, we learned about interfaces that we have something good so that you can use that for extension. Now, there could be a bad interface design also. Uh, let's create a Java class ISP. So the bad design would be that, okay, I've created an interface called YouTube and everything implements that interface, right? Then what is the user interface? No point of using interface, right? So that's why interface segregation. So let me bring this. So these things are from my notes, right? If you go to my personal GitHub, link is there in that bento. You will find this. I think this is a public repo only. You will find all the low-level design stuff there. But I'll create a more concrete one that has a lot of rubbish also in it. But this is more concrete stuff and also good to read, right? So this can help you revise. That's my aim. Uh-huh. Cool. What does this say is that clients should not be forced to depend on interface they don't use, right? So if you have a very big interface, this I have seen in production. So uh, back when I was with Cisco, we used to have this also. This is a very good coding principle that if you have some API layer or let's say different, like for example, you have CRUD application, right? Create, update, and delete. You'll have different. So create might have different things, update might have different things, right? It might have, make sometimes sense to have different interfaces for that. So like when principal level engineers are there, right, in your team, they kind of guide you through these things. So this I have practically seen this solid principle. Back then I did not know that this is called, there is a coding standard around this, but yeah, this is a good one. So, okay, instead of having one large animal interface like walk, fly, swim, right? Because animals, or not all animals can walk, right? You can have walkable animals, flyable, swimmable, right? If you put everything in one, then it doesn't make sense, right? So that's the correct thing about it. So I'll take a simple example. I'll not take without violates ISP is, let's say, this interface. You have media player, and then in this media player you have two functions: play audio. This might, there might be some other functions also, audio like extract audio and lot of other things, right? And then you have play video. Now if you create another function of audio player, let's say if you want to create a media player, then you'll have to implement both. Even so now, so using above, whether it is a audio player or video player, we need to implement both, right? So that's why it is better to spread it out, right? So follows ISP interface audio player, and some more audio function, right? Like with this one audio function, it might feel like a overkill. And one more thing that I have heard, not concrete thing, that mostly sometimes it is overkill, like using so many design patterns, right? So should keep the design simple. So interface, audio player, and then you have video player, right? Void play video, string video player, video file. So now let's say now you need a media player, right? Like you need an advanced media player. I think it can implement both. So for example, uh, class advanced player. You can say something like implement audio player, video player, right? I think it is given an error that you should implement both of these, right? Implement methods. See, but if let's say I have a simple media player, it has only one functionality, media player. Just it has only audio functionality, right? Again, I'll just say implement. Cool. That's the example of ISP. Cool. I'll take a break now. ISP, and then the next one, if we have to quickly look at it, is dependency inversion, right? Dip. Let me create a Java class for that also. Dip. What does that has to offer? So what is interface segregation? That don't create big interfaces, right? This is also a good one. This is a really good one. That don't make your high modules dependent on low modules, right? So we'll take a break. Uh, this I think I paused. I saw a comment in a chat whether modular monolith microservice. I think it's just a design pattern, but I don't think monolith microservices. There are two things, monolith or microservice, right? Monolith is like one big service that does take care of everything, right? So systems initially when you build something, you always build a monolith and then you expand to microservice when your team grows, right? Uh, that's what mono microservices, like one user service. I have worked in project where there were like close to uh 30 to 35 microservices. Netflix has close to 1000 microservices now, I think. So monolith microservice I have not heard. These are all like architecture patterns. Monolith is one, microservice is one. Hi Aryan, hope you're doing well. Please feel free to ask any questions if you have. All are separated features. In which, Shubham, what do you mean by that? Like in microservices? Yes, features or functionality. Feature is like relatively a small thing. You can say business. Like always, I think microservices are divided based on business value, right? So if you have a user service that has a separate logic and separate business entity, hey, what do you think of .NET framework? It's good. Uh, uh, yes, yes. Shubham, 1,000 micro like in Netflix. Yes, that's 1,000 microservices. All are different. One would be like recommendation, and one would be like movies, right? All would be different. You are right. Hey, what do you think of .NET framework? I think it is a very well established one. I don't have much experience in that. I recently started that. Uh, does it has a large market? I think they both uh, like Microsoft to be specific is heavily using .NET C Sharp, right? So that is good. C Sharp and Java, they are very close to each other from syntax and whatnot perspective. Java Spring Boot on the other hand, like Walmart companies like Walmart, they use that. I have worked mostly with Golang. Like I have worked for 2 to 3 years with Golang. This is like a minimal version. You can think of it like Pythoning thing, right? Because you don't have to type much in Golang. Uh, so market for Golang is increasing. And I think Java Spring Boot has most of the market, if, but I am not any expert on this. So, but that would be my take, Aniket, that Java might have some more. Golang has started from what I have known is Golang has started from 2015. Not like invention, but most being used, right? So I have worked in a project that was started around 2017. That time, my team chose this Golang to build microservices. Yeah, no worries, man. Yes, Shubham, they have bunch of features. Each microservice, they have bunch of features within that microservices. Newer code bases are opting Golang. That's what you're saying, Shubham. Yes. I love chatting with you guys. Feel free to send like one-liner intro also, like where you are at your college, yeah, whether you're in college or Shubham. I feel is like an experienced guy based on his chat messages because he knows most about design and all. Generally, I have audience from college, the young folks, but they are nice interacting with everyone. Where do you work, Shubham and Aniket? If you guys are not in college, we'll just start in a minute or so. Oh, nice. Even I got a CS branch by luck. Some of my relatives they said that go for CS if you want to get a job like CS rated branch. Oh man, tough. All the best. I hope you find a job soon. Tough market. All the best. All the best. Please let me know in my LinkedIn, right? If you need any. if you need any help with referral, so I have some friends working in various companies. I could help with the referral. So happy to help there, right? Any companies you can like ask me if there are some any companies you have in your mind, right? I can like if you want referral for Cisco or Oracle, I have friends working in these, right? And I can help you with that. So happy to help. Yeah, so I have attached a bento link, so you can ping, uh, I can pin that in a chat, and you can ping me on LinkedIn, and we can connect. Happy to connect with everyone. So I can help with that. Uh, Design and DSA, that has everything. Oh, nice, Aniket. Nice, nice. How's the startup that you're working at? I am no one's guru, man. No one's guru. Riz. I think that's why I'm using this mode and influence because nowadays just this is again a low popular opinion that influencer word is very famous. But I think if you are influencing someone's life, you need to be at a very big stage. For example, you can get influence from APJ Abdul Kalam, right? Those are the guys who should we get influence from. You should get influence from Michael Jordan, David Goggins. I am no one to influence anyone. I'm just a normal guy. So earlier I used to do fashion. So in fashion, people used to call me like fashion influencer. Again, that's not something that I like. Something about me because I have I think good audience now. So I think that is not a right term to be used at least in this way because after some amount of preparation, right? It's just luck. I think. Yep. Just spreading knowledge to my best of knowledge. Correct. Blackstone. Okay. Good. I have not heard of it. But, seems good. .NET has a good market if that's what was your concern, Aniket. I think .NET has a good market. Yes, yes. That is what is needed. If any, so generally, like as Shubham, you are new to the stream, right? This is like my 61 session. So 30 or so session I did just on myself. So I was the only one coding and all, right? So I was mute. First I was speaking, then I went on mute, and then some say I got an audience. So then I again started. So then I used to get college student, like a lot of college students. They are learning DSA and whatnot, right? So if anyone just randomly sees my stream and then get good knowledge out of it, I think that's my job is done. Then my job is just to spread knowledge. So feel free to check off my videos as well. Yeah. For you, my early videos won't be that helpful, but there is a video where I mentioned like what companies are nowadays asking and how was my experience. That might be really helpful for you, Shubham. So yeah, I don't have time also to talk about other things, Aniket. So even if you see, I don't like I only use Excali, which is a great tool. Just I open Excali and then I do prepare a script of every topic, right? I do prepare a script where um, where I have written what I am going to say so that I don't talk like now I'm talking, right? A lot of rubbish stuff. So that's why. But glad that people are liking it. Thank you so much. Means a lot. Cool. Now I'll move to another session and then we'll hopefully wrap it up, right? Anyone, I think you guys also like probably solve a DSA problem or uh, watch through some of the design. But thank you so much for good words. I'll just type it out also. Thank you so much, guys. It means a lot. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Aniket. Yeah, that is my aim. Down the line in 3-4 years to be a lead. I have in my previous company, I've led smaller projects, but not something that has huge impact. Cool. Uh, Moving to dip, right? This is a really good pattern. I think this is or a principle is one that makes most sense. Like interface one also makes sense, but this is something that is practically very useful, right? So what it kind of says that you have low level modules, like you start from a bigger thing, right? For example, we start from a high level and then we go into down, right? Now you have a low level module and that is depending on high level, right? That is okay. Your low level can depend on high level, but if your high level is depending on low level, then that's a problem, right? That is something is wrong. So what is the example? A payment service should depend on high payment processor interface. This you can ignore. I think I'll write it out. That way we can learn more better. So let's say violates uh, violates tip, right? Again, spelling mistake. So now we have this class Gmail client, right? Now, what Gmail client is that? So whenever you send let's say you have a email service provider, right? Email note. It's a very good question also, like design notification service. There is a guy named Code Karle. Code Karle. He has a very good. Uh, Again, going little bit off topic, but what is the use of Stream if I'm not sharing good resources? Code Karle. He also has worked at Facebook. So this is his website. It's a really good. So I've watched all of these designs. So I think he's also a very good guy. I have never seen him doing any publicity. Just very good videos he has put. If he has not seen right notification service and whatnot, like really good designs. And these designs are very different from LXU's design or other designs. So you'll also learn variety of things around this design. So a really good website. Code Karle. So I'll put a comment in this chat. Code Karle. Really good one. Amazing guy. He is also from Facebook. He is from Facebook, right? And Hello Interview is also from Facebook. Cool. Uh, where we were, right? We were at dip. So just like that, so you are using Gmail client, right? So because you have a email service provider where user like me is saying that, okay, I need to send this email. So for example, let's say Myntra is using, right? Whenever you place a order, Myntra is using a Gmail client also and message client also, right? And this is what they are sending in the text, right? Send text. So send email, right? Now you have a email service altogether, which Myntra calls, right? Myntra calls and Myntra calls this, and here you have a reference to Gmail client. So here what you are saying is public email service, your email service. When you create this email service, this is your constructor. I think this is saying email service one. Let me put one because I have email service in another package also, right? In same package in another class. So that's why it is conflicting. So you are saying Gmail client is new Gmail client, right? And then here, when you are saying public void send email, you will be using gmail.client.send email, right? And order place, let's say. Now, this is like the violation. Why? Because this Gmail client, right? It is like a low level module for this email service. Email service is at high level, and then you have Gmail client within it, right? But this email service is completely dependent on it. So your high level module depends on this Gmail client. which is wrong, which is violation, because if this changes, then this whole thing kind of breaks. If you, let's say I change this send email to do something else, right? Like Gmail client made some changes on their end. So then this whole your email service kind of broke. So then that's not a right way of doing things. So you need to have a high level module basically. High level module should not depend on like low level modules like this. So again, the approach is to kind of create abstraction out of it. Don't stick it to one Gmail client. Make a email client itself. Let Gmail client implement that, right? And then use that email client in your email service. Uh, okay, follows. Let me create follows dip. So what I'm saying is that you have interface email client, right? And I'll be taking two so that send email to syntax, right? Now this email client could be anything. It could be Gmail. So class Gmail client 2 implements email client. Uh, void send email to print text, right? Oh, email to also classes. Which is this one clashing with? Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I need to do the implementation, right? This can't be just abstract function like this. So you have a Gmail client, and let's say Gmail is altogether a different provider, right? Offered by Google. So you have an Outlook client also, right? Now these are the clients, right? I don't own this. Like my service doesn't own this. So, but this email client is something that I own, right? So my service, which is this service 2, should leverage that private email client to email client 2, right? Now here I have achieved a lot of things. First of all, I have removed directly dependency from a low level module like Gmail client. Now I am at a high level email client, right? So let's complete this one. Public email service to and emails client to this dot and then public. I have always found this one little bit complex because it is like uh, hard to think of it on your own, right? And also not very straightforward. So, but I think it's one of the good ones out there. It's really helpful. But I have not practically seen it being used in my pre-projects, just like I've seen that ISP, right? Interface segregation. This I have not particularly seen, but I understand the value that this one offers, right? So let's say I have this email service one that we created, right? And then email service one and new email service one. Now, when I say that email service dot send email, this is going to send Gmail email because this is completely dependent on that Gmail client, right? But other way, now in a email client, I can create two clients, right? And then I can use the email service. So let's say email client 2, or I don't want to create an email client. I want to make a one-liner. So this is email service 2 and email service 2 is equal to new email service 2. Here I can pass new Gmail client too, right? So here it was completely, this module was completely dependent on Gmail client, right? Now this is not dependent. This is something dependent on what you pass. So I'll do this and 3, 3, 3 and Outlook. Uh, Only this needs to be 3. This needs to be 2, right? So now can be Outlook thing and this email thing, email, right? We can see that how we have changed. Just this is something that we introduce, something that you are passing in. Here you can only pass your Gmail client, right? In this, you can only pass your Gmail client, or you're not even asking it. Yeah, that is the main advantage, right? So this is kind of hard coded to Gmail, which is a low level, right? Kind of that defeats the purpose. Okay, that is our interface dependency inversion principle, right? These are really good. But I have not seen like some interviewer directly asking. They might ask solid and then explain it, but implementation rarely I have seen. Single open to extension Liskov, these are important, but this is also important. I would say all are important. Okay. Then the next thing is design patterns, right? Now design patterns are a lot of type. There are more than like 30 plus design patterns. When I came to know about this term, I was very overwhelmed with it. So lot of things revolves around design patterns. It's very uh, overwhelming. I see a question in chat. Which ID is this? This is IntelliJ. This one. This is IntelliJ. It is like very friendly with Java. For other languages, I use Python, but this is for IntelliJ. And so this is IntelliJ. This is really an exciting thing about this. Like this is Calicrod extension, right? So you don't have to jumble across tabs. That's where everything. This extension is there for VS Code as well. So this is not just limited to Xcali. Really good extension. Cool. Design patterns again. Let's say we go back into 1990. Uh, you are building some system and then you are doing some things on your own. Back then there were no patterns. Now when there are very good developers, they have invented languages, they have done a lot of things now, and they have also given us some standards, right? That okay, if you are facing this sort of problem, and I think 90% of the times now we are facing problems that are already solved, right? If you are facing some unsolved problem, then that kind of you're inventing something new. So that is where they wrote patterns, design patterns. There are like close to 30 patterns. But yeah, I don't think so. One should remember or even know about those. Some good ones are there, and they are kind of categorized into different ones like behavioral. Which one I have? Behavioral, creational, and then structural, right? How the system behaves. So this one I really like. Uh, the payment one. So this is also understood like a very kind of a easy to understand one, right? So let's say you have a payment service and it can have different strategies, right, based on the input. One way is that you completely create classes, but that is where interface comes into picture. I think most of the things revolve around interface. I personally feel that. So you create a payment strategy interface. Here when we were learning Liskov also, right, not Liskov, dip, that is also very much similar to this, because we created an email client. Here we'll create an interface of payment strategy, and then we have different strategies, and our service uses this. I think this is exactly a strategy pattern. Now here I am using this email service is using Gmail client as a strategy. This email service is using Outlook client as a strategy. So basically here what we can learn is that our our dip and strategy can be explained with one example, right? So as less number of examples as you have to learn, it's good for your interview, if that made sense. So that's what. So for payment strategy, what we will have is that we'll have a payment strategy where you're paying and different classes implements that. That's a straightforward thing. And in your service, you can set that payment strategy, right? Which strategy you are going to use. And then you can change it based on the time also. So we'll implement this, right? So that's your payment strategy. Then observer, this is also a good one. Observer pattern. It's like when something changes, you have to observe some set of things, right? That's when this uses. It's like topics and buzz also. It's been a while. I think I learned these 1 year back. So I'll also probably have to kind of revise through this observer pattern and state. Yeah, this is vending machine. Vending machine is based on state. You have different states. Factory is pretty good. Singleton is one of the best pattern out there. So if you are creating a DB connection, right, you do it only once. Don't create so many DB connections, right? This I have practically implemented this pattern. So because if you maintain so many DB connections, chances are there that your DB can also be inconsistent, right? So this I have practically implemented in one of the systems out there. Decorator is also good. One of like how I learned decorator was that so I'll be implementing these tomorrow and then down the line one by one, but just saying some of the things. Uh, Decorator, if you guys read about decorator, right, what you will learn is that everyone is giving that coffee example. But how I thought of it is that let's say you are working in Uber and you have a ride pricing decorator, right? Now ride pricing has your base thing, and now you can decorate it, right? That's the main aim of this. So let's say now there is urge, right? There is like more surge is happening. Then you can decorate your object with surge price decorator. Your price increases. Your base riding you have decorated. In the same way, let's say iPhone battery is less. I've read somewhere that if your battery is less, then the charges are up. So iPhone battery decorator you can have, right? In the same way, this like milk coffee example, but this riding price decorator is something that I thought of. So that is really good. So I will be implementing that in down the line, right? Just quickly check. Okay, so this stream has been going for 1 and 15 minutes, 1 hour 15 minutes. I'll probably take a break now. Uh, Otherwise my back will start paining. So it has been fun. So I would like to say thank you to Shubham, Aniket, and Tech Rookie. Hello, start. Uh, yeah. Uh, else. And thanks to everyone who joined the stream, and sorry if I could not answer any of the questions. Have a nice day. Bye, everyone.